Hello, fellow detectives. Welcome to Unlocked, the official podcast for all things Nancy Drew by Her Interactive. I am your host, Tammy Tuckey, and this week we are also celebrating Midnight in Salem with another voiceover actress, Reba Buhr, to the show. Welcome!
Hi, guys. Hi, Tammy.
It's great to have you on the show because I think yours was one of the only characters we really got a video animation for, as a little teaser. So why don't you introduce your character and give us a little bit about who she is, because we only have kind of the visuals of her.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all that I really have too, in terms of I haven't seen her in action yet, so you've probably seen her moving around more than me, but I play Mei, and she is a resident of Salem, who is a bit misunderstood. I would say she's a little, I don't know if this word is outdated, but emo.
Hot Topic fan, as we like to call it. Yeah,
she's a Hot Topic. She probably has shopped at Hot Topic, and she part of the reason for that is that she was burned very badly in a fire when she was young, and so she feels like nobody wants to look at her, nobody wants to be her friend, and she puts that on people and sort of pushes people away before they can push her away. And Nancy needs her help to solve the mystery, which I think at the beginning a lot of people are sort of accusing her, my character, of being one of the main suspects. But I think, well, I don't know.
It's hard so because we're not supposed to reveal too much. Yeah, exactly. So it's all right. I know a lot of the people are going to be listening to this right around the time the game comes out, anyways. But again, which is so sweet of you not to want to spoil anything for me either, because as I said previously before in other episodes, I don't know anything about the game except from what all the other fans know. So we get those little teasers and they've been very enjoyable, like images of your character and also the music. So it's been, collectively we're trying to hype it up, and I'm just glad we could get to talk today because we'd scheduled this for a while now just to help with preparation of the game coming out, which is exciting too. Mm-hmm. So what was your introduction to Nancy? Did you read the books as a kid?
I absolutely read the books as a kid. I was totally all up in Nancy Drew books and Hardy Boys books and Boxcar Children books. I put all those together in my head, and the Nancy Drew ones were my favorite because of the female protagonist, and I continue to love mysteries to this day. I had no idea there was a Nancy Drew game series until I got the audition for it. In fact, I didn't even know what I was auditioning for at the time because they often keep those a secret with video games. So I guess not until I got cast. But I'm a big fan of the character, and she's been around for so long.
Did you know anything about the games kind of previously before putting in your note for the auditions?
No, I had no idea. I didn't know they existed. I didn't know what it was. I'm not a gamer. I never have been. As a voice actor, I work on games all the time, but I've never owned a video game console. And I just don't, I unfortunately don't know much about how to play them even. So I'm always embarrassed to admit that.
Hey, it's okay. Some people are into it. Sometimes some people just like to watch. There are a lot of fans who record them playing the game, and some people just like to watch that. You know what I mean? They don't even play the game; they just watch it on YouTube. So
right. There's all sorts of varying levels of ability when it comes to video games, and my ability is 0.
Well, to each their own. You know what I mean? I'm sure you would be. With the Nancy Drew games in particular, you probably understand this a little bit more now. Is that they take a couple hours to get done. Sometimes it takes 2 days if you're going on for the senior detective version, or you want to pace yourself, as they say. So
yeah, I do like the idea of solving a mystery. And I might be a lot better at that than I would be at like fighting or racing. So maybe Nancy Drew games are where I need to start.
So when they presented the story plot to you, did they give you just the basics and a little bit about your character, or did they only give you sides that you could kind of draw from?
Well, first of all, they showed me a board with every single character in Midnight in Salem sketched out onto it, and they went through each character and told me exactly how they fit into the world. They're in Salem, Massachusetts, which is, of course, where the Salem witch trials were held, and so there's a lot of lore that, like, it just remains a spooky place. So I got to understand the whole story, but then when we work through my scenes, it's just the scenes I'm in, so I don't get other people's storylines. I don't know what goes down with the various branches that things go off with. So that's all a surprise to me as well.
So your conversations were mostly with Nancy, it sounds like, and and in particular, did you kind of jump in to see what type of Salem history you could obtain, just to get a little more of an understanding of kind of the background and story that they're trying to present for the game?
Well, we move very fast in animation and video games. So the truth is, I didn't know until I walked in for my first session that the game took place in Salem. When they audition me, they audition me with lines, but they don't tell me the backstory of it because there are privacy concerns with the game. Mm-hmm. So they're just looking for somebody who fits the vibe of the character. So once I'm there recording, and we recorded for 2 days, so that's a very short period of time. I mean, 2 busy days, but there's no time to research. Yeah. I mean, it was many hours, but you're there, and it's time to do your lines. So I wasn't able to do research. They were some of the most friendly and sweet video game producers that I have ever met. Not that any other video game producers aren't kind and sweet, but I've never worked with a team out of Seattle, I don't think. Well, maybe Pokemon, but they were just so kind. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. There's so much history with this game, so much more than most. I mean, 20 years of games. There's not a lot of games haven't really been around much longer than that. So they're very emotionally invested in Nancy and the stories and their fans. The whole time they were capturing video, thinking about how they were going to share this with the fans.
With your character of Mei Parry, she as we talked about, she seems like kind of like the outcast in this specific game. So did you get a chance to meet any of the other character actors and actresses who were working on this game too? Even if you didn't get a chance to record with them, did you get to meet them at some point?
So here in Los Angeles, the voiceover community is a little bit small, and a lot of us know each other. So I was already friends with Brittany Cox, who plays Nancy. So when I found out she was playing Nancy, I sent her a big congratulation email. And then Danny Gendron plays, I don't remember the name of the character he plays. Because
I think Jason, right? Jason.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have lines with him so much, but he was also a good friend of mine. So when I found out he was on the game, I was excited about that too. So those are the actors that I just already knew. And I think even at least one of them is based out of New York, so she's not in the LA scene. So I really don't know her. But yes, we do record alone, so I don't work with other actors.
Do you find that to be easier or a little bit harder as a voiceover artist?
Oh, it is so much more exciting to record with other actors, but it is a luxury that you don't often get, especially with video games, because video games, the nature, there's scenes, especially in games with a lot of cutaway scenes like Nancy Drew, but there's also so many little isolated lines that maybe would happen if you hover over the character when they're looking for something or when they're trying to give you instructions. So it makes it harder to have that regular scene interaction with another actor, and it kind of necessitates recording alone. But feeding off another actor is always preferred when you can get it.
As a voiceover actress as well, too, do you find it to be easier not to know a lot about what you're working on, or to have as much information as possible?
I'm just not used to having information. I've been in this business about 7 or 8 years. And most of the time when I go into a session, I would say half the time, I don't even know what project I'm working on yet because of the NDAs. And the other half I do know, but I have no idea where they're going with the story or the world. So you are expected to have all of the things that they're going to need for that session just in your pocket already. So if they need something super emotional and cinematic, you need to be ready to do that. If they need something really broad and animation-y and cartoony, you need to be able to do that. And you need to be able to do it on the drop of a hat.
Do you ever get that luxury of being able to ad-lib at all?
Sometimes with animation, almost never with video games, because they are often already, it takes years to develop a video game, to do all of the technical work to make it. So by the time they bring a voice actor in, the mouth movements have often already been made. And so you don't get to add things. They've written it to match. There's certain time that you have to fit everything in. So ad-libbing is not really available to you.
Was that the case for this recording session then for Nancy, or were you able to ad-lib at all?
I never offer ad-libs on video game sessions because I know that oftentimes from a technical standpoint, they just can't work with it. Mm-hmm. But we do play with the delivery of the lines. So we will work hard on taking a line in an emotional direction with what is written already.
Also, have you ever been to Salem before, or have you ever gotten a chance to you talk to anybody, or maybe did the team give you a little bit more background on the location so you kind of knew the spacing wise of how it's going to look?
No, we talked so much more about the characters and their relationships because that was what was really going to inform my performance. I do know a little bit about the scenes that I am in and where they are, and there is a really fun, spooky location, but I'm not sure I want to say it because I think that's a bit of a reveal.
That's okay. Hey, it's all right. Yeah. And as long as you say it's spooky, that's always music to our ears.
Just like in any mystery. Sometimes things seem obvious right off the bat, but you need to just keep an open mind and take in all the clues and not just the most obvious ones.
What was your initial reaction when you kind of heard that this was going to be a Nancy Drew game you were going to initially play? And did you delve into her as the company itself just to kind of gather what exactly maybe to expect?
I did look up her and was just so surprised at how many of these games there were already, and the fact that I didn't know about them yet, and the fact that for the longest time, Nancy Drew had been played by the same voice actress, and this is the very first time that we are saying hello to a new one. So yes, all of that was new and exciting information for me.
What are your thoughts on video games nowadays? You know, when you get to work on so many different projects, as you said, you worked on Pokemon. Is there what type of sense do you get from being able to record those specific games as opposed to maybe a voiceover for a commercial?
Video games are making more money than blockbuster movies these days, and they are becoming the new blockbuster entertainment. So for those of us who work in games, we are investing more into the performances because the graphics they're able to make look so much more like real people, and the stories they're telling are so much more meaningful now. So working in video games has become almost a cinematic art a lot of times, even though it can also be broken up and feel a little more unnatural because of all the fighting exerts you have to do and the one-liners and things like that. When you can get into a good cutscene, you really get to put your acting hat on, which is very satisfying for those of us who studied acting.
Why do you think there's such more of a draw to the video games as opposed to films now?
I think that it's the interactiveness of it. People love being able to feel like they're a part of it and immerse in it. And as more AR and VR becomes a part of our world, I think that that's only going to increase.
And you weren't a video game player at all, in any sense of the word, is what you had said previously. Did you, were there any other things that you got to do when you were younger that kind of were the way to take you away from reality for a little bit?
Well, we had computer games, but my mom just wouldn't buy us one of the video game consoles. So I played like Amazon Trail and Oregon Trail. And
oh, cool. Yeah.
Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. I played so much of that. So I mean, I'm not like totally unfamiliar with games. The gaming that happens today with a controller and, things, I just don't know how to do any of that.
When the game does come out, what are you most excited to hear about from the game? Are you excited to hear about the reactions, or are you excited to see how people respond to your specific character?
Well, the real hero is Nancy, and I don't have any intention of worrying about myself when Nancy's there to rule the day. So I'm excited for people to hear Brittany play her and to solve the mystery and see if they think it's a good one, if it was a compelling story.
And do you have any advice for those who are listening to this podcast who would like to kind of jump in to voiceover at some time? Maybe if they feel like the inspiration from this next coming game, they're like, oh my gosh, this is something I want to do. What would be your main advice for that?
Well, my first advice is that voice acting is acting. So if you want to be a voice actor, you need an acting background. Get involved in drama at school, do plays, do theater, because that's what's available to you when you're still studying and learning. And when you've built up strong acting chops, and theater really teaches you how to use your voice well too, so does singing, then you can transition into voice acting because you already have all the skills you need. You just need to put them behind a microphone. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to do anything but voice acting. I don't want to do regular acting. I only want to be in cartoons. And how are you going to get good at being in cartoons unless you practice before that? Because there's no chance to really learn and build strong chops behind a microphone. Behind the microphone's just for work for the most part. So that's always my advice to young aspiring voice actors. Your voice is a muscle. Literally, your vocal cords are two muscles. The more you use them and manipulate them and stretch them in different ways, the more things they will be able to do. So a lot of people, especially teenagers, get very frustrated. They feel like their voice can't do a lot of things. And that is because during puberty, your vocal cords change and they grow and they become a little bit weak again. So if you get into singing lessons, you will practice and redevelop those muscles. And then by the time you are a young adult, they will be so strong and able to go high and low and do texture and do not texture. And perhaps you'll even practice your accents, so you'll be able to pull on those, which is a great skill to have in VO. And then you will be able to do anything.
I'm so excited that you're going to be a part of this game. So it will be really lovely to finally get to be introduced to Mei in the long run. So, but my final question for you is, if you could describe your experience working for Her Interactive and now being a part of the Nancy Drew universe using one word, what would that be?
I would say happy. And I know that seems like a really reductive word, but often when I am working on video games, things are kind of serious. And even though Mei isn't a happy character, working with the team and working on this game was a happy experience for me.